Hey, it's Juck. We are not bemoaning the noon kickoff. We are now owning it. It's a badge of honor. We're the lunatic fringe that defines our coach's legacy when it comes to this game. They don't get to define that outside the family. We're cut from a different cloth for Ohioans. He's got it all, man. He's even got the jaw. You know the jaw. You see that jaw, and you're just like, yeah, man, that's a dude. Do I want Michigan to beat Oklahoma? No way in hell. I don't know what world I'm living in. This is insane to me. And if you saw my outburst, I apologize. It's showtime now. It is showtime, an impromptu showtime. I was not planning on this, obviously. What's up, fellas? Appreciate you for joining me. You might be the only ones in, as this is just a little kind of before I get in the car and head down to Pickerington. I wanted to pop on, talk about what happened Thursday night, what's going to happen tonight, and then maybe some final thoughts on Saturday, because I'm just jazzed, man. I'm so jazzed. Ohio State Athletic Director Ross Bjork this morning shared a photograph that got a lot of traction on the interwebs. No cupcakes with the big Nike shoe. Of course, Ross tweets it, and immediately everybody comes at Ohio State's neck, because the next game on the schedule is Grambling and then Ohio, and that's, whatever. The Buckeyes should be commended for this game, as should be Texas and Miami and Notre Dame and LSU and Clemson. This week one is what it's all about. I absolutely love it. We've waited all off season, and now we get to step right in to a huge week of football, week one, and it's just great. We also got Fox putting out a little bit of what I don't know. Maybe you can tell me how you take this. I take this to be a little bit of a troll job. So they tweeted out this right here. Viva la Big Noon. Join El Presidente and crew tomorrow at 9 a.m. They tagged like 3 people. One of the people they tagged was Ohio State football. I don't know, guys. It seems a little passive-aggressive to tag Ohio State football with the whole Portnoy situation and everything that went on all week. You can tell me. I think it was a shot, but maybe the relationship isn't going so great. I am curious to see how much of the crowd tomorrow is going to show up at Big Noon versus game day. I do think there will be a lot of the crowd that wants to go to Big Noon just to troll Portnoy. And, that'll be fun. Hey, I'll be around. Maybe I'll stop by both. Of course, Lee Corso making his final headgear pick. Now, important to note that is going to take place inside the stadium. A lot of times they do those outside the stadium. This one's going to be inside. And Ohio State wanted us to tell everybody going to the game that they want everybody in the stadium early, 11 o'clock, get inside the stadium. So if you're going, no time to dilly-dally, get inside. Corso's headgear pick will be inside the stadium. The Fox crew will also be inside the stadium at that point. And we got to pack it in early so people aren't lingering in. There aren't empty seats by the kickoff time. So let's get in early, 11 o'clock. It is a scarlet out. I like the color outs. I don't like it when I have something else picked out that I want to wear that isn't scarlet, which I did. I wanted to wear something white, but whatever. It looks great on TV. But I think I heard maybe the first thing ever that I agreed with Desmond Howard on. Desmond Howard said that Ryan Day is playing with house money. Sark is the guy with all the pressure here. This is a must win for Sark, and I totally agree. I think that this game for Sark is way bigger than it is for Ryan Day. Sark is the anointed one this year. Him and his team are the anointed ones. They are supposedly the best team. They're most people's pick to win the national championship, and the pressure is on Texas and Sark. But let's recap a little bit of last night before we get into final thoughts for the Buckeyes game tomorrow. And I was going to do a 10 a.m. show this morning live. I apologize if you were one of those who were waiting on that. It didn't happen, obviously. But I took my girl to dinner last night because it was kind of a strategic move. Tonight, I'm not going to be able to take her to dinner because I've got to go work. I've got to go work the Pickerington Central and Wayne game and go watch Jameer Brown, the number 1 wide receiver. It's going to be a tough Friday night at work. I can't wait for that. But then I got home and I wanted to watch Cincinnati, Nebraska, which meant I didn't have any notes for today's show. So that game took place at Arrowhead Stadium, and it was essentially a Nebraska home crowd in Kansas City there. And Nebraska able to eke it out over Cincinnati. They won, I think, 20-17. an interception to end the game. And the glazing I heard of Matt Rule year 3, Matt Rule year 3. Now, I'm a believer Nebraska is going to be a pretty good team this year. That win against Cincinnati certainly didn't, show me anything, right? Like, they looked pretty good. They should have beaten Cincinnati more soundly than they did. And I don't think that this was, I forget how one of these dudes, this JD Pickle or somebody, competitive, I don't know, man, some stupid coin word. That's Matt Rule year 3. That right there, that's Matt Rule year 3. Like, get out of here, dude. But I was rooting for Cincinnati, and I am curious, as many of you are, solidly in the camp of all the Big Ten teams. We had a lot of Ohio Big Ten matchups last night. I was rooting for the Ohio schools. Cincinnati lost to Nebraska 20-17. Ohio University took Rutgers down to the wire. They lost 34-31. Rutgers ends up squeaking it out. And then Wisconsin played Miami of Ohio. They won 17-0. And I looked at that score initially and I was like, how in the hell are they only beating Miami, Ohio 17-0 with the schedule they got this year, which is one of the hardest in the country, maybe the hardest in the country. Turns out their quarterback, transfer quarterback, Billy Edwards, who Luke Fickell was really excited about, non-contact injury, went out in the second quarter. Haven't got any, update on what happened to him, but those non-contact injuries usually don't end up well. And could you imagine? Remember last year's opening game, they lost Tyler, what's his name? Van, whatever. Their starting quarterback last year, game 1 against Alabama. 2 years in a row, Fickell might lose his starting quarterback. I can't believe it for this guy. And with the schedule he's got, it's just all turning so bad, man. And that's a hire I thought was going to work out perfectly. But a big win for Eddie George, Bowling Green in Eddie's debut, 26-7. They beat Lafayette. My Akron Zips lost to Wyoming, only 10-0, which felt like a victory. And Alex Golish, who is Jim Tressel calls him one of his guys. He's from Dublin, an Ohio State grad, the head coach of USF. He whooped Boise. I think it was like 34-7. That dude is an up and comer. He's going to be one of those next, one of the next Ohio dudes who's going to be a big time coach for sure. So really excited for him, and that was pretty cool to see. All right, let's get into the Buckeyes, Texas, and then we'll wrap with some picks of the week before I head out of here. Money is pouring in on Texas, and we obviously this was always going to happen. As we have gauged the public, I think it's been pretty apparent that most folks feel Texas is going to come in and win this game. Just off the general feel, we watch enough stuff, we see that, and inevitably this line was going to shift. And it started off as 3, was then 2.5, moved to 1.5 over the course of the week. We're seeing bets like $550,000 on Texas coming out being reported. It wouldn't be surprising if the game went off as a pick. So the money rolling in on Texas. I believe that Ohio State offensively needs to be able to run the ball between the tackles to win this game. And I think that they will be able to. I think that Luke, Carson, Tegra in that middle there with Austin and Phil, run blocking is a strength of this crew. And I think they're going to be ahead of schedule with the excellent advanced coaching they have received all summer. I think what Ohio State did with their offensive line is something we are going to see programs look at this year and emulate all around the country. The Buckeyes were a year ahead of everybody, and it's going to show up early in this season. Texas, I think they're going to try and do exactly what they did last year, trying to take JJ away. The problem for them is they don't have 12 guys on defense. They've only got 11. And if Ohio State is running the ball effectively between the tackles, they got problems. I think the Buckeyes will be able to do that. Julian Sayin, I don't think he's just going to take what's there. I don't think it's just going to be a dink and dunk. I think that they are going to green light him to push the ball. I think this is going to be an aggressive offensive mindset from Ryan Day. Ohio State's been preparing for this game all offseason. Ryan Day talked about it at literally the press conference after the national championship, not the national championship press conference, but the very next one. Texas, this offseason is going to be different. We got Texas week 1, and everything has been gearing towards this game. I don't know how they've been handling it at Texas, but I like the way Ohio State's been handling it. And I don't think that Ryan Day is coming into this game playing this close to the vest with a lot of nerves, thinking we got to win this or everything's over. I think it's, look, we practice, we're good, we're ready for this. We're going to go win the damn game. The Buckeyes' biggest advantages here, Jeremiah and Caleb in Ohio State. Ohio State fans, 105,000 in the stadium. And as a coach, very important to use the power you have to get the crowd in the game early and loud and aggressive. And you do that by aggression. And I think that we're going to see that. And I don't think this is going to be some sloppy defensive fest like some of these games we've seen. I think Ohio State's going to be very intentional, and they're going to move the ball, take some shots. I think Texas is going to play a similar game plan. And I think it's going to look like a really good, well-executed game, unlike some of these games that we've seen early on. Really excited personally to watch this running back duo for the first time. CJ Donaldson just looks like an absolute tank. Jimmy DePeoples, guy grew up in Texas as a Buckeye fan, right? We're talking like Ohio State bed sheets and pillows, and almost went to Texas. Now plays his home state. Parents are from Ohio. This guy's a dude, he plays with a chip on his shoulder already. I can't wait to see how fired up James Peoples is going to be. He's going to be animated, fired up. He's going to get off. The Texas linebackers, look, Ant Hill's great. As a crew, I think they're a little overrated. That's my own personal thought. Now, I may eat those words, but that's the way I feel about them. But a combination of Peoples and Donaldson hammering those dudes, I think those two, between them, will get about 120 yards rushing. And I don't think the Texas secondary is as good as it was last year. I think Julian Sayin is going to eclipse 270 yards passing on the day, which will be more than Arch Manning. I think Julian Sayin will probably get sacked a couple times, and it's going to be interesting for us to see how he pops back up from that. You know, he's not going to have a game with this kind of talent coming after him for quite a while this season, and we get to see it right out of the gate. How does he deal with that? Does it shake him? Do blitzes shake him? Does he, this is the defensive game plan I think Ohio State's going to employ on Arch. When we saw Arch last year, he threw a couple bad picks, and he threw those bad picks off of pressure. He looked like he was rattled and just threw it up a couple times, and it didn't work out well for Texas in those games. Well, they won the games, obviously, but I mean, when they came after him, he didn't look good, and those were really under-talented defenses. What was it, Louisiana Monroe and Mississippi State? What's it look like when Ohio State dudes are coming after him? What's it look like when Arvell or Sonny are blitzing? I'm really curious to see if they can rattle this dude, but this is the defensive plan for both of these guys. They want to rattle these young dudes. The problem is Arch, he's got a much bigger disadvantage. He's going to be going on a silent count in a hostile environment. He's got it more difficult tomorrow. And they're going to make Arch burn him. I think that has to be the game plan. Look, he's going to have to earn it. We're going to make him take it. He's going to have to burn us. This isn't a guy that's going to get the kind of respect right off the rip where we're just going to sit back and play defense on him. We're going to pressure him. So it looks to me like I think we're going to have a very aggressive overall game plan on both sides of the ball, which I love, not just because it's more exciting football, but you're not playing for the national championship. You're not. You can take a little more risk in game one, and this is going to fire up the crowd. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be something we're going to talk about for 20 years, just like we are 2005 Texas with James Laurinaitis. 2006 Texas would be James, but James coaching up his dudes. We get to see Arvell and Sonny as the duo for the first time. I cannot wait for that. I do think that Texas will, like Ohio State, hit a lot of annoying completions to pick up first downs with their tight end. Their tight end injuries is pretty good, but Max Clare in his first game, very excited to see him, and I think it might be a big one for him. But Texas wide receivers, DeAndre Moore, Wingo, I don't think these guys are going to really get off, man. I love this Ohio State secondary, and I think that the Buckeye wide receivers are certainly going to prove that they are, in fact, now Texas, they admit Ohio State has a better wide receiver room. They think they have a better everything else. But the wide receiver room, they just give Ohio State the gap like this because they're really high on DeAndre Moore and Ryan Wingo. And their number 3 guy. And obviously they've got Khalil Lockett, a really stud freshman, Dylan McCutcheon, Jamie French. They're coming up. They're coming up in the world for sure. There is a massive gap here. And Julian Sayin is going to allow these Buckeye wide receivers to make some plays. Wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Innes really got off. First game as a captain, first game starting. That's going to be really exciting. But I'm stoked. I know you guys are stoked. My final pick for the game, Buckeyes 27, Texas 20. I think that Julian Sayin about 270 yards passing, probably a couple touchdowns, 120 yards rushing between the two stud backs, and one of the more exciting opening weeks we've ever seen, and just an all-time classic. Cannot wait. But let's get to Friday night. If you're not going to any high school action, we've got a couple games to watch. Baylor is hosting Auburn. Baylor getting 2.5 points as the home dog. Give me the home dog here. I know a lot of you guys will be rooting for Baylor just because of Auburn, and you root against the SEC for everything, and I'm with you on this one. Even more so because there's a bunch of people coming out now saying that Auburn is going to be like a 9-win team. I don't know where people come up with this crap, man. Like, before I did this show, one of the things that used to drive me nuts is I would watch people do what I'm doing here and come out and say things in consecutive weeks like Oklahoma and Florida and Auburn are going to be great. And then inevitably, when one of those is great or much better than most people expected, they pat themselves on the back while refusing to acknowledge that they also said the same thing about Oklahoma and Florida. They're lumping Auburn in with this just to make sure they got all the, everything on record. Auburn sucks. Hugh Freeze sucks. Baylor's on a 6-game winning streak. Dave Aranda's got things turned around. Sawyer Robinson is really good. Jackson Arnold and Hugh Freeze are not. So I'm really excited about this game. I'm not going to be able to get to watch it because I'll be at a high school game, but I am planting my flag with Dave Aranda and the Baylor Bears tonight. Going to be an exciting one. Obviously, getting to watch Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton, Auburn's wide receivers, is going to be really fun. Can Jackson Arnold put the ball out to him? I don't know, but we're going to see a lot of points. And Hugh Freeze just doesn't got it anymore. That Ole Miss magic is gone. The guy's a terrible man. He's a terrible leader. I want this to flame out hilariously, and I think it will, and it starts by losing to the Big 12 week 1. Then we got a matchup at the same time, 8 o'clock, of the 1990 split national champions, Georgia Tech and Colorado. Georgia Tech goes into Boulder, a 4.5-point favorite. Now, Colorado, obviously, they don't got Shedeur. They don't got Hunter. They do got Caden Salter starting for them. Julian Lewis, the freshman stud, one of the top couple of freshman quarterbacks in the class, he probably is going to get a couple plays. And when we look at Julian Sayin, Julian Lewis, a very similarly framed in style of play, a smaller kid, got a really accurate arm, surprising arm talent for his size, and it's Deion's dude. So what do we see there out of quarterback? It should be interesting. But when I look at Georgia Tech, this looks like the team that's ready to take the next step in the ACC to me. After 7-6 last year, but they played everybody tough. They played Georgia tough. They return Haynes King, running back Jamal Haynes as well. And I think that they are going to go into Boulder and beat Colorado pretty soundly. Colorado, they didn't have their head coach all offseason, right? Through no fault of his own, but Deion was in Texas. And I just have a hard time seeing that team coming out of the gate with a whole lot of chemistry when he was gone so long. So that rolls us into noon on Saturday, which of course we got the Buckeye game, but we've also got at noon on Saturday, Tennessee and Syracuse. Syracuse getting 13.5 points, this game being played in Atlanta. Tennessee, I am just not confident in Tennessee beating what I think is a well-coached team. I think Fran Brown is the next it kind of dude, and I don't see Tennessee whooping on them. I see them winning the game. But I'm going to go ahead and take Syracuse in that 13.5 points in that game. Then we got Florida State and Alabama. Florida State, Alabama at 3:30. Florida State, after that season last year, like, it was just so unbelievable to watch a team go undefeated to 2 wins. Florida State going to be hosting Bama. There will be a lot of Bama fans in attendance, though. Those aren't two campuses that are too far apart. Florida State gets 13.5 points at home. Great home atmosphere. They just redid the Doak. They did a big construction project. I'm really interested in seeing that. And that's a place I'd really like to see a game at some point. But when I look at these two programs, obviously You've got Castellanos coming in talking all this crap for Florida State. He's not a very good quarterback. He's a good athlete, and I don't think he's got what it takes to move the ball a whole lot on that Bama defense, which is pretty loaded. You've got Ty Simpson on the other end for Bama making his first start. This is a veteran guy, been in the program forever. I see Bama covering this 13.5 relatively easily. And then we got LSU Clemson in the battle of the Death Valleys, but I already made a video about this. Clemson is the real Death Valley. LSU started calling Tiger Stadium Death Valley essentially to troll Clemson after beating them. Sorry, you can't do that. You don't get it. You don't win. The JUCK'S verdict here is Clemson gets Death Valley. Now, I think that Clemson is going to protect Death Valley, and LSU is going to go in there and lose their 6th straight home opener, though I do appreciate the fact that they have scheduled big games for these home openers. Clemson, USC, Florida State twice, all in that group there of 6 home opening losses. But I do think they will lose. However, I don't think Clemson is going to cover that 4.5 point line. I think it's going to be a little closer. Clemson, one of my picks to be in the national championship game this year, I think is just a complete team across the board, obviously well coached, and maybe the best quarterback matchup of the weekend. Maybe the best quarterback matchup we'll see for a while with Clemson and Klubnik and Nussmeier at LSU. But I ultimately think that the defensive line at Clemson will be the difference here, led by Peter Woods. They're just a nasty unit, and Clemson wins the game. LSU plus 4.5 is the winning bet, though. And then we get to watch the meltdown happen, right? Like Brian Kelly in, what is it? Is it year 4 now for Brian Kelly? Year 3? Year 3 for Brian Kelly. Listen, the LSU fans are on edge. If the dude loses this game, Brian Kelly is the most hated coach in all of college football. Everybody hates Brian Kelly. I did a poll about this once, and I assure you that it was not even close. I thought Lincoln Riley would be close because I feel a great deal of disdain for Lincoln Riley. Not as many people feel that about Lincoln, I guess, but we are talking about the most hated coach in college football, Brian Kelly, right up at the top, and it is going to be fun to watch that meltdown. I did want to say that Josh Pate, my man Rod says UK fans hate Stoops right now. You know, I've seen this, and I got to say, like, what he's done for that program is I mean, it's just been tremendous. You know what I mean? And maybe I'm a little biased because he's an Ohio dude, but UK was nothing but a doormat, and he has at least given them a respectable program. Obviously, they had a really down year last year, and they should have been better. But, you know, I really disagree with the hate that he gets from some of those fans. I understand he's not the most cordial guy, and I get it. But, you know, it's just it seems to be a bit much for me. We got some predictions here. Jalen says 34-24 Ohio State. Rod's got 27-17. Here we go. I like this one. Woody says the first name out of every talking head's mouth after the game will be Kenyatta Jackson. So that'll be fantastic if that happens. Kenyatta obviously waited his turn, done everything right, and now it's his time to shine. Might end up being a household name amongst college football fans by the end of the year. And that would be really a testament to staying and doing everything right. And remember, Hero's got another year of eligibility left. Should that end up working out that way. But if he ends up being that kind of household name with the physical tools and the physical traits that he has, we're talking a seriously high draft pick here, because he is just built perfectly. He's exactly what they want in the NFL. So going to be interesting to see what happens there. Stoops has elevated that program beyond what they've ever been, but they've slipped back down to their historical norm. I mean, just 1 year, though. I mean, we'll see what they do this year. Zach says, I hope I'm not making a mistake by checking out Glenville tonight instead of Wayne. As long as you get the opportunity to see Wayne again at some point this year, I would make sure. Well, then again, you got another year of high school to see Jameer Brown, right? So, you know, maybe you're right. I took in Glenville last week at Massillon, and it was one of the most exciting games to open a season I've ever seen. Here's one of our Juck guys here. Everyone picking Texas is making me think Ohio State's going to win this. I love it when the Buckeyes are in this spot, when everybody seems to be going the other way. I mean, I'm a fade the public better anyway, but being that it's my team on this one, I feel very similar. So really happy to see that. Over under in the first quarter, 9.5. That's interesting. I think I'd take the over in that one, but I'll tell you, we can't bet on player props here in the state of Ohio, but the prop for Julian Sayin passing yards is 231.5. I'd love to be able to pound that over. What's up, Dave? How we doing, brother? Dave asks when I'm going to the Hoban game. So I'm going to be definitely at the Hoban Glenville game. Dave, did you see that Hoban has 9 home games this year? Dude, come on, bro. How's that even possible? They got 9 home games. So when I go to see Hoban Glenville, boy, that is so much Division I talent on the field. It's going to be wild. I can't wait for that. Shepard says, I'm going to State College for the whiteout this season. Should I expect a crap show getting in and out of that stadium? Dude, I got to be honest. I've never been, but everything I've ever heard is it is just out in the middle of nowhere, hard to get a hotel. Not honestly, that experience has been what's kept me from going there. Bucks by 50. What's up, buddy? Ron weighs in. 2 good defenses, first time starting quarterback. I can see them running the rock a lot, so I think it'll be low scoring. Crazy. Hoban and Glenville ESPN Classic. Is it really? Oh boy, wow. That's something. So that's a game I wouldn't go to if I couldn't get if I wasn't, in the position to cover it on the field, because it'd just be ridiculous. The crowd it'd just be impossible at Dowd Field, because they're having that at Dowd. And that it's just not, it's too small. Fisherman went to Penn State once. They threw piss on me and my family. F them. Oh man, sorry to hear that, brother. But yeah, I've heard stories. My son's been there to a couple games. He's got buddies that live on campus at Penn State, so he drives and stays with them for a few days and then goes with them. Terry says, Trevor Gooseby, that's the Texas offensive lineman, expected to wear a club on his hand. I did not see that, Terry. Is he even starting? Dave's leaning 2017. Doesn't know who, though. He's on the fence. And it does feel like one of those games, right? What? Fisherman says Penn State threw piss on him, too. What's with these guys and throwing piss, man? What in the world? I've never heard that anywhere. We've got 2 reports of Penn State throwing urine. Ken, this is what I'm excited about. This team's only going to get better as the year goes on. And if they come out and look good week 1 against Texas, win or lose, if they look good, if they show out, if we see a couple of throws from Julian Sayin where it's like, okay, I see it right there. And I think we will. We all come out of this feeling well, right? Yeah, Gooseby had surgery. Gooseby. There we go. Jake got a ticket. So excited. Going to be losing his voice in the shoes Saturday. Make sure you meet me inside the stadium, Jake, at 11. We got to be in there at 11. Those are orders from headquarters. Piss State. Now, that's interesting. I've always heard them called Piss State, and now it really lines up. All right, friends. That's my half an hour limit I had, and now I have got to go hit the road. I got a 2-hour trip down to what you call it, Pickerington, and I got to go check in a hotel, drop off Mrs. Juckster, and then head myself to the game. So my man says if you got in late, so at the beginning of the show, so Ohio State is trying to, at the press conference on Tuesday, they want everybody to spread the word to get inside the stadium at 11. Corso is going to be making his pick inside the stadium. They want everybody in early. And I think it's just a measure. Look, let's make sure that, 10 minutes before game time, everybody is ripped, roaring, ready to go. And so there's not people straggling in or a traffic jam getting to seats. And we start the game off right. So in the doors at 11, and I'm definitely going in early too. Yeah, the students always show up late. We got to definitely try to get everybody in early. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. All right, guys. Appreciate you so much. I will the post-game show. So I'm going to be recording tomorrow some stuff outside the stadium, and then I'm going to have I got I want to say a cameraman. He's a content creator, and he showed me some of his stuff. It's really good. So I'm going to be sitting next to him. He'll be recording some things with me during the game. So for people who don't go and you want to see maybe some of the new traditions or some of the biggest moments from inside the stadium up in the stands, we'll record some of that stuff. Then after the game, I'm going to head home. So probably tomorrow's post-game show will be live, maybe like during the evening game. So maybe like during LSU Clemson, I'll probably be watching that game, and I'll pop on here if you guys want to just pop that up, and we'll talk a little bit about the game. I'm sure you'll have talked with everybody about it by then, but I'm looking like an evening primetime kind of hour for the post game show for Texas. And that's, of course, if the Buckeyes win and I'm in a great mood. If I'm not in a great mood, maybe I'll just hold that off till Monday. We'll see. But anyway, that is the tentative plan. So I appreciate you all so much. Yes, Adam, 18K by the weekend. Let's get it. Anybody who's not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Make sure to hit that like. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Hey, it's Juck. And I don't think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball now that Chip Kelly's on board. And I'm happy about that. More quarterback. The truth is Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none of those. You all know who wins. LSU is the drunkest fan base in the country. To start, I mean,